Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer said he's not sure if George Pickens will participate in voluntary workouts this offseason, although the receiver has signed his franchise tag tender. Schotty saying as of right now, they've not had any conversations about trading Pickens and look forward to his growth this year. Listen.
I just think where he can continue to go and grow is scary, because what he did last year was amazing. And the more you watch the film and you see it, you're just kind of like, whoa, like it's different. Super Bowl 61, February 14th, 2027. And that's where we plan on being. And that's a tall task, and we have to clean up a number of things that we need to improve on from last year, and that starts with protecting the football and taking it away and things like that nature. But it was proven this year by both Seattle and New England that if you didn't qualify for the playoffs, the previous year, it doesn't mean you can't get to the big game.
I love it. Listen to Schotty calling his shot.
That's right.
If you will. And he's not afraid to talk about the Super Bowl right now and everything else. And the last piece of this had to fall into place, which is George Pickens signing that tender, which he did. And Mike T, you're going to tell us that the timing of it suggests he intends to play for the Cowboys this season.
Absolutely, Greeny. It was reported initially that he had signed before the draft, which would lead us to think, okay, maybe he's going to get traded some point before round one, do a deal and go to Team X, and then Dallas would take that draft capital and presumably sign a receiver. The fact that he signed it after the draft tells me he is 100% there for the year. It just wouldn't make sense for the way the Dallas Cowboys are built to trade George Pickens after the draft, knowing there's really not a lot of receiver options out there, which is great news for the Cowboys. It's better news, Greeny, from the standpoint now he has to be at mandatory minicamp, he has to be at training camp, which gives him and the Cowboys the best chance to be successful for the season.
You were making the point this morning, Dan. We've not yet heard from him. At some point, we will. But that does seem, you sort of add 2 and 2 together, it seems like that's the way it's going.
Actions speak louder than words. He signs the tag. Like the Cowboys come out and say we're not going to negotiate a long-term deal with him. The Cowboys believe the franchise tag is the correct way to go with George Pickens this season. And you hear it in what Brian Schottenheimer is saying, talking about how much better he can still get. That's kind of their pitch to Pickens, like, hey, do it again, and maybe even more, and then you'll really cash in, whether it's with us or somebody else, But I think that's what they're saying. Like, it was one great year. Let's see it again, and then we'll talk.
I hope that that's the way he sees it if I'm a Cowboy fan, because the reality is that's the right way to approach this. I can't criticize the Cowboys for their approach on this at all, considering the history. So now you sit back and you look at it, D. Wood, and you've got the head coach, and you know him well. He was your OC with the Jets, talking Super Bowl talk in early May. How do you feel about it?
I love it, man. Like, listen, I've had it from both sides of the coin. I've had it where, the process, you don't want to get ahead of it. And I've had coaches say, hell, let's talk about it now. Let's lay out all the expectations right now. Both sides at work. Schotty's very confident. They got a really good roster. We all know the things that they need to work on, stopping the run and all that. But listen, at the end of the day, Greeny, it's about big-time players doing big-time things. That's what it's all about with the Dallas Cowboys. We can go on and on about all this other stuff, but it's the Dak Prescotts, the CeeDee Lambs, the George Pickens, the Quentin Williams, all of those guys. They got to come up money if the Dallas Cowboys want to be playing in Los Angeles.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they make the playoffs. They lose that home game to Green Bay right in the first round. A major letdown for a team that had high hopes. So with the Cowboys, if we're assuming the roster is good enough to get them back to the playoffs, then it's the same old question. Can Dak Prescott and this group elevate beyond where they've been, which is they haven't been to a conference championship game in 30 years?
If they're going to, it's the defense that's going to have to get a lot better. And if there's one person that is an addition to that defense that you think makes the biggest difference, who is that person?
Caleb Downs. We talked a lot pre-draft about his versatility, how smart he is. But Dallas last year gave up 72 plays of 20 yards or more, which was the 4th most in the league. If he just cuts that in half, the amount of yardage and the amount of big plays he'll prevent, because he's an outstanding tackler, is going to be huge for this defense.
All right, so we'll see. There's some video of him for the first time in a Cowboy uniform, and now you see him playing with Ohio State. We'll see what they're capable of doing. I want everyone to see one other thing, and I want you guys to be here to react to this, because it was my favorite thing over the weekend that I saw by a long ways. And that was, by this point, you've all seen what happened in the Kentucky Derby this weekend. Golden Tempo coming from literally at the very, very back of the pack.
Mahomes is throwing, and he's on track to participate in Kansas City's first OTAs later this month. That, according to Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, who says his quarterback may be limited in his participation, but that Mahomes is throwing the football and working through no contact activities. Mahomes is coming back from surgery in December after he tore multiple ligaments in his left knee in a game against the Chargers. Dan Graziano is with us on SportsCenter this morning. Dan, it's easy to see that headline that he's on track to participate in OTAs and think that the recovery is ahead of schedule. Why, though, is there more to it than that?
And Andy Reid made this point, too, which is that OTAs aren't, football. There's no offense versus defense on the field at the same time. There's obviously no contact, not that you could hit Mahomes even in a full contact practice anyway. But the point is, if he's out there throwing and moving around, it won't look too different from like a video he might post on the internet of him working out on his own. I would say this, Patrick Mahomes has committed himself to his rehab. He has basically been with the Chiefs training staff just about every day of the offseason. He's on track. He hopes for week 1, and that's not out of the question. But I would say that his participation in OTAs with phase 2 of the offseason program at this point is encouraging, but not necessarily conclusive about his status for week 1 of the regular season.
All right, let's stay in the AFC West for a moment. A team a lot of people think is the biggest threat to Kansas City in the division, the Raiders. Rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza, I can say that as a Raider fan. He's getting reps this weekend, Dan, at rookie minicamp. What is one particular adjustment that he's going to have to make?
Under center. I mean, he barely did it at all in college, and the Clint Kubiak offense relies on this to a great extent. So he's been taking snaps from under center in practice. He's been taking snaps from under center when they get back to the hotel after practice. He rounds up the rookie offensive lineman and works on this stuff in the hotel room. So he's determined to get better as quickly as possible. But, Fernando Mendoza, to no one's surprise, committing himself fully to what he needs to do early in rookie minicamp. Interesting note here, the guy that finished second to Mendoza in the Heisman voting, Diego Pavia, ends up with the Baltimore Ravens on a 3-year contract, undrafted free agent. They like to have a developmental quarterback on the roster. They got a couple guys in to rookie minicamp to maybe do that. So this is something to watch because over the next couple of years, the Ravens might be trying to find somebody in that developmental quarterback spot behind Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley, especially with Lamar Jackson having 2 years left on his contract and not having signed an extension yet. I think the Ravens are at least thinking about, hey, maybe this guy might have something. I'm not saying Diego Pavia is it, but they saw enough to give him a shot.
Yeah, at the Combine, he measured in at a little over 5'10". Just file that away. Dan Graziano with the very latest.
Yeah. I'm pulling for the short guy. That's for sure.
All right, Dan. Appreciate you, man. You drive around as a civilian, right? You get all helmeted up, and you get in the car, and it's a street legal vehicle that they drive you around in. Yeah. But you go about 170 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour.
And the drivers are so comfortable with that, they're having conversations with you.
So you did one, and you conducted an interview. Who drove you?
I was one of the Aston Martin drivers. I've done a couple of them.
Okay, it's not a contest. Yeah. But so I did one with Kimi Antonelli, and he's talking to me. I'm conducting the interview. One hand on the wheel. One hand on the wheel, looking at me, and I was like, just the dad mode kicked in. I was like, well, let's just look at that ahead.
And this is so this one he was 17.
He was yes, it was 2 years ago. So
that's incredible.
Probably couldn't drink then either.
That is, that's because that's the way math works.
That's the party line.